Hey, welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Arduña. We come from different backgrounds, but we're working together. So our goal is to help you navigate being better together in the various sectors of your life by bringing you a once-a-month interview and some stimulating thoughts on the weeks in between.
We hope this podcast keeps you tracking on building something better together, whether it's your marriage, your family, your workplace. We want to serve you. So here's today's episode.
Friends, we are back with another 10-minute tune-up today. And today we want to really look at this idea of, for those of you out there that are listening to this and maybe thinking about, I'm trying to be better together. I'm trying to create unity in my job, in my schooling, in the church that I help lead out at, or that I'm a part of, that I volunteer at. In some of these areas where we're surrounded by some other people in our lives. And we want to look at that and say, okay, is there any breakdown within that field? We want to look at this idea of concentric circles, whereas we have these deepest intimate circles, and then they progressively get out into our lives further and further. And so we want to kind of engage in a conversation within that. Ian, would you start us off, just kind of intro us into this conversation?
Yeah, I think, as we've been listening to people that we're interviewing and kind of picking up on it, there's this idea that you really can't work on it way out here if there's things deeper in on the concentric circles that are really out of alignment. And then also, the more we look at what's at each level of these concentric circles, the more it informs maybe this thing way out here that we're working on. So let's give an example. Maybe you're working on really trying to create unity and working better together at your job. You've got a team of people, you're trying to get them to perform higher, trying to get them to work better, and it's just not going well, and you can't figure it out. So if you were to back in on your concentric circles, you might go from your work to maybe your group of close friends. How is it going with them? And then back it up another circle to, like, how's it going with your family? Whether, your parents, your siblings, your wife, if you're married, and kids, if you're married, and then even the person that you're most intimate to, your girlfriend, your spouse, how's it going with them? That would be the next circle in. And then I think there's another circle, actually. There's a circle that I would say is your relationship with God. And so some of us have a relationship with God. Others of us don't. That's not really something we explore or we do much about. But I think the deeper people can go at analyzing each of those concentric circles, the more it informs what's going on, maybe at the area that they're most intent on and they're most working on right now, like at work, right? So if I'm working on it in my job, with my team of people that I'm leading, but my marriage sucks, and I'm not really sewing into things with my wife or my kids, it's probably gonna not go well out there either. But if I am working on it with my spouse, with my family, my kids, my sisters, if I'm being intentional in that, then the same principles are going to spill out to what I'm doing at work, and I can apply them at work, right? But it very rarely goes the opposite way. I think that's some of what we're hearing, right, Daniel?
Yeah, I think as we were talking a little bit to prepare for this one, we certainly could acknowledge the idea that in some of those larger outward circles that are further away from the intimacy, you may be able to experience short-term unity in something, but then find yourself realizing, hey, it only lasted for this long, and now I'm lost and feel it. And I think that, again, is what you're saying, is if you can then identify and backtrack that, and if those deeper, more intimate circles, and you find that there are areas where that is off, and then you can go to start to work on that then as you expand back out again, maybe you can find longer term unity within those outer circles, not just the short term unity moments that might happen. And that's huge. I can speak for myself of thinking and reflecting even in this moment where there are times that I feel like I'm really off in being united with others in my work or in some of those certain circles. More times than not, I can draw that back to, for me, my marriage or some of my deeper relationships with family or friends, and then draw that, for me as well, drawing that back to my relationship with God.
Yeah. And I'm just going to share my own personal experience with some of this, honestly. And I hope it helps our listeners and causes you to think a little bit. But, for me, my relationship with God's really important to me. Like, I really believe he wants a relationship with me. And he demonstrated that so clearly that he sent his son Jesus to die on the cross to show me how much he loves me and to offer forgiveness and everything. And that to me is honestly the most important relationship in my life. And there's many times where I have ignored that relationship, or I've kind of put it on the shelf, and I've gone about my business. I've showed up at work. I've showed up on sports teams. I've showed up in the community trying to get people to work together, and I have hit the wall. And I've run out of patience with people. I've run out of it. It doesn't work when my relationship with God, and I'm not hearing from him and receiving the forgiveness and the love and the mercy from him. I don't extend it to the people on my teams. I don't extend it to the people at work. And so, like, for me, that and even the next circle out, like loving my wife and creating unity with my wife, I've found if I'm out of tune at that first circle, the deeper one, the impact in my relationship with my wife is drastic. There's something missing. The spirit's not there. So the deeper you can go in these circles and do work, then the more it spills out and it can impact these other circles if you're intentional about impacting those other circles. We don't want to just go to that inner circle and stay there. You want to actually come out with it. And so I don't know. That's my experience. Daniel, what do you have to share on that?
Yeah, I think that for me as well, though, you want to talk about the two deepest circles that I can draw back to identify where things are off. For me as well, God would be the deepest relationship for me, and my wife would be the next one. And I think that as I reflect on the times where I feel off, it's starting in one of those two spots. If I get to the spot with my wife and I see that there's something off there, I'm able to identify it then. If things seem somewhat like okay there, and I go back another step and say, well, with God, and then I'm able to identify there. And I think what you just said is so key. Is we're talking about today. We've talked about starting out here in the further out circles, starting to look backwards to identify what's going on. But once you find that, it's not just about stopping there. It's now, all right, I figured it out. How can I change that? Now let's go apply that as we go back out to those outer circles. And I think that's a beautiful takeaway for me, reminder for myself, and I think something that we share with our listeners today is just a practical way to look at if you're struggling with unity for yourself or creating that in those further out circles. Look backwards and then bring that back in.
Yeah, I mean, you're leading a church, and so you're dealing with a lot of people and their needs and stuff going on. And I know, because I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
You can't do it if things aren't right at the core.
Nope.
And so when we're fighting for unity in those things, man, we gotta constantly evaluate the core, and that's how more unity occurs when we're taking care of those inner circles. The outer circles will have more potential to move forward. So that's what we want to encourage all of you in this week. If you're fighting for unity in some space and it's not going well, go deeper. Fight for unity at a deeper level on the concentric circles. Go in and talk to your wife and work in your relationship with God. If you don't have a relationship with God and you want to explore that, reach out to people and find out more about it. You'll find it'll make a huge difference in your life. Matter of fact, if you want to talk to me or Daniel, you can even contact us. I don't think we've given you all our email. So we've got them here on the bottom of the screen. It's ian@wearetrellis.com and Daniel@narrativecostamesa.com. Man, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to encourage you to go deeper in these things so that it impacts you in the areas you're trying to create unity in your life. So thanks for listening today. We want to encourage you again, tune in on March 1st. That Monday, we drop something every Monday. On that Monday, we're going to be dropping an interview with Megan and Ben Glassman from Legacy Makers. They're helping families figure out how to work better together, and you're not going to want to miss that interview. You want to wrap us up, Daniel? Anything else?
Just to encourage you, we hope that you really walk away from this 10-minute tune-up today. And as you think about your job, as you think about your workplace, as you think about if you're married or if you have a significant other, as you think about your friendships and your family, that you could truly draw something away today that could help you to create unity and be better together in those places. That's our heart and really what we're chasing after within this podcast. So thank you for listening to us again today. Look forward to what Ian just said, the podcasts that are to come here soon. We look forward to sharing more and taking this journey with you.
See you guys next week. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. If there's anything you heard today that was helpful to you, that you think might be helpful to somebody else,
please like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can help others be better together as well.